morning, everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world. This is Coast to Coast. What's happening, brother?
A lot going on in regular life and on the show and in sports world, man. I'm excited to be here this morning.
Absolutely.
What up, Carol?
What's up, Win?
What's up, Win? Good to see y'all.
Obviously,
cherry cheesecake. Did you bring me a cherry cheesecake, or did you not supply that? Is that?
I'm not a cheesecake fan, so no.
My favorite.
Here is a fun fact about me is I'm really not into desserts in general. Fair. So cookies, cake, don't care.
Yeah. So I'm not a cake and ice cream person.
Mm-hmm.
So which led to some, for our wedding, we had a red velvet cake.
Okay.
So years later, somebody asked me, I heard, what's your favorite type of cake? I said, I don't really like cake. And my wife was like, no, it's red velvet. That's our favorite. I said, no, that's your favorite. Me, I didn't have any of it. But I love a good cheesecake. And I'm glad she's still asleep and not listening to this story.
Yeah, right. All of a sudden, we're live filming an episode of Snapped. And
I'm reaching to try and turn my mic and my camera off. So yeah, that'd be interesting.
So obviously draft day today, but I feel like we have to kick this off at the college ranks.
Yes, sir.
With your team, because your coach gets extended. This is a little bit of a surprise to me.
Right.
It didn't seem like they needed to do it yet, but here we are, right? So Kalen DeBoer gets 7 years, $12.5 million a year. So that makes him one of the highest paid guys out there. Again, a little bit surprising. Not that I didn't think they would extend him. I just thought this was premature and maybe more and longer than I thought he was going to get.
Yeah. Well, he's already starting, I think, at a 10-year, like when he started, and he was already making, like 10 million. So it's funny because the fan base has already been coming. I've been defending it because I'm a DeBoer guy, but I can absolutely, who I am. I can absolutely see why people are like, wow, this is early. But it all to me, like I guarantee you, Kalen DeBoer is not the type of guy that's like, I need a raise. But the man has an agent. And I'm 1,000% sure that agent was like, hey, look, this is the offers we were getting from Michigan, and this is the offers we were getting from Penn State. And look, every time an opening came open, your guy was mentioned.
I thought you were going to go the other route. The agent was like, hey, man, I need a raise. Go get some more money.
I'm sure the agent was like that too. But I he know how to leverage the whole situation because the stark reality right now that you're facing in college sports is when your coach leaves, your program can be left in shambles. And it's just, we're talking about off air. So this isn't like, I hate to always bring up Washington, but when DeBoer left Washington, that's when the portal was in December and he left in January. Washington lost, and you had the numbers. What did you say? 23 of 25?
22 of 24 is what left our team during that. Way to have the Alabama guy taking digs at Washington. No, I'm just kidding.
And that's why I was like, oh, I don't want this to be a dig. I wish this was any other team. If this could have been a Philadelphia team, I would have been laughing at this segment.
Right.
But otherwise, good morning, everybody, too. Sorry.
Hey.
Everybody.
Yeah. So, again, I don't mind because I was the first one that called this out. I was like, oh, he's leaving for Alabama. We knew that our team was going to fall apart because that's just how the transfer portal works. This is where your casual fan doesn't really get all of the pieces of it. Is because they have it in place where if your coach leaves, you have the ability to jump in the transfer portal and get out.
Right.
Cool. I get it. Right. At the same time, that new coach coming in is in the worst possible position because no other schools are letting their guys hit the transfer portal. Transfer portal's closed. So your guys all get a leave and you get whoever's left, right?
Yes.
Not just whoever's left on your team, but whoever's just randomly left in the transfer portal. So you're not exactly restocking your new coach with talent. You're restocking with, hey, this guy's been in the transfer portal for a year and a half. Can you fog a mirror? Cool.
Yes. That is it. That is it. And like in that exact example, it was a month after the transfer portal been open. People like, well, it's only a month. No, to college kids, I would almost say 90% of the kids that get in and get out real quick, like had offers before they got into the portal.
Oh, of course.
And they knew where they're going. That number, which is probably still like 1,000, that's left after the month, are not like these are not your building your program kind of guys. They were shout out to Miami Ohio. They're like the Miami of Ohio third string linebacker who just wanted to take a chance. It's stuff like that. So you can't. And DeBoer has had 2 top 5 classes already, probably working on a third. Yeah, and I think that they're just looking at hey, if he leaves, this is a guy that took Washington to a national championship game and has proven he can build programs. And I think they're not listening to the outside noise. When you talk to an Alabama fan, they don't see 9-3 and 10-2 in the playoffs in 2 years. They just see the losses, and they're just frustrated with all that. And I'm like, so we're just not take any positives, right? So the way I always challenge Alabama fans is I say, whenever they're like, we should get rid of DeBoer, I say, okay, who are we hiring? Well, we can just grab anybody. No, you can't.
You can. The problem is you're not going to be good.
No. And that's what I don't think most of them realize. I said, no. If you say you're going to fire him, I want the exact plan in place. Who are you getting next? You can't mention, like the Kirbys and like Ryan Days and Lannings. Those guys are not leaving their places. And nobody wants to take over a place where you fired the coach after 2 years, after following a legend, and making the playoffs in year 2. Who wants to follow that situation? And I had a guy go, for $10 million, I'd go there. Yeah, but you're not the same mindset. You're sitting on your couch, eating Cheetos, talking about I'll pay for $10 million. No, you haven't gone through the whole coaching ranks and uprooting your family and doing all this versus just being comfortable where you are making good money already. And by the way, if Alabama comes calling and you decide to say no, you're getting a raise where you already are. So that as well.
No question. Yeah. No, I mean, and again, he's a great coach. So, I mean, he had Washington in the championship game, right? So, I mean, it's not like he was, when he was hired by Alabama, it was somebody that you're like, who? Like, so, I mean, it's not like, oh, anybody could go. That's why I was laughed at the NFL level too. They're like, we should have fired Tomlin. It's like, okay, well, who are you going to put in there? Right? Like you're talking about a guy that hasn't had a losing season in 20 years. Oh, I don't know. It's like, yeah, well, see, that's the problem.
And that's the most fans. They have no plan. They just want a new guy in there. Like you said, even and they do. And the bigger problem with the elite programs getting spoiled, we have way too many Saban babies. So they started being a fan when Saban was here, and they think everything has been great. And they won't go look at like the 10 years before, 13 years before Saban got here, where it was just a lot of bad. And they'll ignore all that and go, oh, we've been dominant. Yeah, we were dominant during Saban's time. Yeah. You're not going to see a run like that again, not with the transfer portal and not with the way guys switch teams.
Yeah, well, and also with your, conference realignments. Like the conferences are so big now that the odds of you doing that is pretty low, right? Like when you think back to some of the years that Alabama had, it didn't exactly have the stiffest competition every year, right? There were quite a few cupcake games on there where you're like, okay, they played like 3 good teams and, some division teams, obviously, or conference teams too. But I mean, there were plenty of times you looked at Alabama's schedule and you're like, I mean, for a team that's always in the top, I would have expected a little more competition. Not every year. Like they
I know, but I think because most people will look at that cupcake game before the thing. But so I had this argument with somebody. I was like, all right, let's go look at strength of schedule. And for like the last 5 years that they mentioned it, we were all top 10 strength of schedule. Sure. I think people just pick out the worst games for it and say it. So because Big Ten plays worse schedules, like their strength of schedule is worse, but nobody, because SEC is kind of the villains. So everybody will point out their schedules versus, we looked at Indiana's schedule and like their best team that they play in the first 6 games is like a 7-6 team. It's like, or, a team that was barely over 500.
And I think that's where this starts to change because of how big the conference became, right? All the conferences, right? Like we're headed towards the 2 super conferences, and it's pro sports, right? But I mean, when you think back to when the UW was in the Pac-12, right? There were plenty of times Pac-12 was awful. Now it happened that the year that they went to the championship game, the Pac-12 was absolutely like the last year of the Pac-12. They're just like, you know what?
Amazing. Yes.
We're gonna crush everybody. We're gonna have
that was wild.
3 quarters in the top 25.
Yes.
That was not normal. You know, usually you had like 3 schools in the top 25, and that was kind of it. But so for them to have 3 quarters of the entire, conference in the top 25 was wild. But yeah, I mean, so some of it you don't know, but then you add the ability for these kids to move around and all of that. It's like, yeah, I mean, you're not going to see sustained runs that Alabama had. That's like having undefeated seasons, especially when they add one more round to the playoff system. It's going to be hard to see, multiple schools being undefeated, where it used to be quite a few.
Yeah. And that's kind of what made Indiana's run so special, was them going undefeated. Like, look, I'll bag on their schedule all day, right? But at the end of the day, you win a national championship and you play the games that are in front of you. Once you got to the Big Ten championship and the playoffs, like those are your best teams. And you can sometimes look at it like, hey, if you haven't been tested, sometimes you faltered. But they were such a well-coached, well-put-together team that it just simply didn't matter. So, hats off to them for winning it. And it is also, to your point about the bigger conferences, like Texas A&M only lost 1 game, this past year before the playoffs.
Yeah,
but they missed the top 7 or 8 teams in the conference because the conference is so big, until they ran into Texas. So it is weird how much the schedules fluctuate, and it honestly depends on who your natural opponents are. If you get a good one as yours, and you get a tougher schedule every year. If you get a bad one, you skate by with that strength of schedule. So it's I don't know.
Yeah.
Now we're going to get me into I don't like where college football is headed, but I won't go into that this morning.
I mean, I think we can all agree on that. Like, it's, I mean, they're killing the tradition of it is the biggest issue for me anyway. It's just like, okay, like some of the rivalries are gone. Especially when you look at the Pac-12, because Washington goes to the Big Ten, Wazoo stayed in the Pac-12, right? Yeah. So the Apple Cup, that was the last game of the season every year, they basically scheduled it for another couple of years, but then there's no guarantee that we get to keep that game. Played 115 of those. Yeah. And now there's a chance that with how big the conference is, that out of conference games they're not guaranteed anymore. And, so some of those rivalry games, I mean, it's already weird that it's not the last game. It like happened in September. You're just like, I don't know, that feels weird anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
But then, you go to where in a couple of years, we just may not have one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the way you're going now, unless they expand the playoffs again, but you're right now at the state where playing a tough out of conference game doesn't benefit you at all.
No.
And no matter what you think about Washington State, the state of the program, for you guys, that's a tough out of conference game because that's the game they get up for. It'd be like if the Iron Bowl was in September, we would still say it. People are like, oh, Auburn's terrible this year. Yeah, except for us, because exactly. you know how rivalries work. Right now, Auburn is working on plays for our game, even though it's the last game. Washington State would be working on stuff like we just got to beat Washington. So that'll save our whole season. If the rest of the season's terrible, we could beat them.
Oh, yeah.
Better season.
Yeah. So whether the thing that's funny in the rivalry games, whether you are good or bad or whatever, it doesn't matter. That date is circled on the schedule. You're like, hey, you know what? We could lose every other game, not this one.
Yes, for sure. So, it's just it's a shame that some of this stuff go. I was sad when the Pac-12 After Dark was a tradition, man. That was like a staple for your Saturdays. So if that's where conference realignment gets us, I don't like it. And I feel bad for the kids. I mean, like Oregon and the travel that you're having to go through, or UCLA and the travel, like none of this makes sense, with the Big Ten. You're not a Big Ten school. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit in my mind. Or the ones that had to go to the Big 12 also. Like, it just doesn't fit in my mind.
Well, and that's where I think when it does finally go to just 2 super conferences, it will probably work, because then you'll go back to having divisions, right?
Right.
So you'd have the Big Ten, and you'd have an Eastern Division, Western Division. Then it would start to make sense again.
Right.
But it, the way that it sits now, tons of travel. That being said, if you are really doing anything in Seattle, right, you're used to having to travel. So that's why when we listen to other teams complain, especially for the NFL, because Seattle is one of the top 2 most traveled teams every single year, right?
Right.
And so when teams are like, "Oh, we got to travel so much," it's like, shut up. Like, nobody
That's
feels
how we make
bad
our
for
living.
you.
Right. So,
they only fly like 25,000 miles every year to play their season. Like, sit down. Like most of your guys' trips are a bus ride. Like,
right. That's the problem. You can't complain to the person who has it the worst.
Well, and
you only had to travel 1,000 miles, rookie.
Right? No, I mean, and it's not like you're flying now, with the exception of the Rams and the Niners are flying to Australia. So that one's rough.
Right.
But I mean, when they're like, "Oh, we had to fly all the way to the West Coast," you're like, what do you think we do every time we play all of you? Like, we fly to the East. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. How do you think we got there? So I get it.
That's right. On the West Coast, we teleport. On the East Coast, you got to fly to us. Nah, it's funny, but yeah. So I mean, cool for DeBoer and cool for the program,
for sure.
Because that means you at least know where you're headed for the next, 7 years. And not that I really thought they were going to move off him. He had enough success early, right? I mean, he gets in, first year shaky, but even the games you lost, you're like, okay, you could see what they were doing, right? Like it's not like you were just getting destroyed. It was like, okay, that was a tough loss. That was, not one you wanted to lose, but it's first year and all that. Got it. Second year, you guys get in the playoffs. You're just like, okay, like this is natural progression of building the program. And so I think it's just your fan base is so impatient because of the success that Saban had. They're like, oh, if they can't come in and just win a title this year, it's like you realize Saban didn't win the last few years either, right? Like,
right. Well, now Bo, you're gonna get us kicked off the air. That's like, so like, and to reiterate, yes, was I surprised at this extension? And
of course.
Yes, do I think it's early? Absolutely. But I'm just trying to see both sides and see the reason behind it. But yeah, absolutely. The fan base, the administration is not looking to get rid of him. They don't want instability 2 years after the last guy. And yeah, the last guy, he took a team to the playoffs, but we hadn't won in a minute already. And look at this draft, because I think people try to put it this draft and like we might have 2 first rounders, right? We really have 1.5.
Yeah.
And if Monte Moore stays in the draft, we might only have 1 first rounder, right?
True.
Maybe still a fringe too, so still keep 1.5. That's not DeBoer, right?
Yeah.
If you've only been in the place 2 years, they're not the guys you recruited. The only way you can be there 2 years and get people in the first round is transfer portal, and Alabama does not have huge transfer portal money. We're not getting the top tier guys. We're getting the second level guys. And I'm fine with that. That's how you build your program. We talked about it. Would you rather have a $4 million wide receiver or build your whole offensive line with the money you were going to pay that one guy? Build the whole offensive line.
Oh, of course.
But the talent is not there like everyone thought it was there. So it was talent good enough to win, but it wasn't championship level talent. And that shows you with the last 2 drafts. That's all.
Yeah, it was good enough to get you in the conversation, but not enough to actually pull it off. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I'd
Right.
agree with that.
Yeah. And the difference between maybe the legend and the next guy is Saban would probably take a 9-3 team and get you that one extra win to get to 10-2.
Sure.
Whereas maybe the next guy is at 9. Does that make him a bad coach? No. Hey, you're not legendary, who's also been there, 17 years and got to that point where he could, you know what I'm saying? So I just think expectations for year 1 and 2 were just way too high. And I still think there's a lot of programs that would take a 9-3 and 10-2 in the playoffs,
Oh,
in
yeah.
the last 2 years.
No question.
So
I mean, it's one of the arguments I always make at the pro level too, is, I want to be in the conversation, right? Like everybody was like, oh, you tank to get better and whatever. It's like, I never want to do that. I want to be competitive. I want to be in the conversation. That's why when people were freaking out and like, oh, you got to get rid of Tomlin and all of this, it's like, yeah, I mean, I get it. You guys haven't gotten past the first round, but you can't win if you don't get in at all.
Right.
So, if you just throw your hat in the ring, you at least have a chance. And that's why I always bring the Giants up, right? Because it's not like either one of those teams were particularly good.
Right.
Defenses were good.
Yeah.
But, the offenses were very average going into both of those Super Bowl runs. And, but they ended up with 2 clutch runs when it mattered.
Right.
But those were neither one of those Giants teams were you like, oh, that's going to be the Super Bowl winner. You're like, oh, I mean, cool. They made it in. Like, that's cool for them. Yeah. But you're like, they're probably one and done.
Yeah. Were they the wild card in both times, or were they division winner in one of those?
I think
one
they were
was a wild card.
Yeah. So the first one was a wild card. I think the second one, they might've won their division.
But nothing spectacular. Yeah. I don't remember ever in either one of those playoffs, the Giants got this, but it's like you said, you get in, and so you're saying there's a chance. That's all you're hoping for.
Exactly. So. Yeah. I mean, when they took down the undefeated Patriots, I didn't have them getting out of the NFC.
Right.
I saw them get in like, oh, okay. So that's somebody else got a bye week.
Yeah.
Like you weren't looking at them like, oh yeah, they're going to go win it all. You're like, they might steal a wild card game. So, but anyway, so yeah, I don't know. We'll see what he does with his recruiting classes moving forward. But
pressure is even more on as if it wasn't before. So,
yep. All right. And of course, we do have some playoffs we got to talk about a little bit before we get into the draft. And let's see. Let's start with the NHL. Dallas Stars really struggling with the Wild. I was surprised. I thought the Stars were gonna just kind of cruise through these guys. Now they are up 2-1, but they haven't looked particularly great doing it.
No, it's been a fight each time. And I guess the second game was 4-2, but like especially last night, giving up the lead, because that was a fun. So especially for a guy like me who's, hey, I'm not watching the whole regular season. I don't really know as much going into it. I have all these games on now with split screen with it. My wife's over here wondering, like, what are you doing? I see the NBA and NHL. Like, when do you start liking hockey? Playoff hockey, like you guys. It's just the intensity, and when you score a goal like that's way more important.
You're like, I blame it on Bo. He's making it.
It's homework, babe. It's homework.
Yep.
But no, just the back and forth in this series, and the amount of goals scored every game. It's like goaltending and then getting smoked in the first game. If you're Dallas, it's like you took that first one off. So it's been a fun series to watch. But if you had told me like Dallas is a big favorite going into this series, I'd have been like, Are you sure?
Are you sure? Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't see that. So they're in a dogfight.
Yeah, and then obviously if Pags was on the show, he would be ecstatic right now. They did some work, and they're making the Penguins pay.
Yeah. But the funny thing about that game was I'm watching that game, and Pitt gets the early goal. Yeah, I said, because that, to me, when you're down 2-0 and you've lost 2 games at home, that first period, or first whatever in the next game, if you're basketball first quarter, is huge. How do you come out on the road? They came out and they scored an early goal. So I said, okay, they've got it. They're in this one. And then held them scoreless for the first period. So you didn't want nothing. I'm thinking, okay, Pitt's ready.
Yeah.
And then you go 3 quick ones in the third, like in the middle of the third. Second. And I was like, oh, yeah, they're done. You could just tell, like, that was it. They had all their fight in the first, and you could just tell when they got to 2-1, that's when I knew it was done. And 3-1, I said, okay, I can watch other stuff. So no, Philadelphia did what they had to do. They put them away. They withstood that first little barrage.
Yep.
And now they're just, you can just tell Pitt is kind of like, all right, man, where's off-season plans? You know, we're done. So
I mean, they did get that goal. They did get that goal in the third. Obviously, it didn't matter. And then Philly puts up 2 more. So, I mean, obviously this series is done. The odds of them, rattling off 4 in a row is pretty low. Not to say it can't happen, but it can't happen.
I mean, that is tough. I remember that happened in Miami and Boston in the in NBA, and Boston actually forced the game 7, and then Miami still won. But other than that, but it's not even. And I know it's too early. Well, no, it's 3-0, but you could just tell the fight has been taken out of them. I think they took it out with that shorthanded goal in game 2.
Yeah.
And then this second period was just like, guys, we played almost a perfect period of hockey, and it didn't matter, like 10 minutes later. So I just, and the will to want. I mean, you have to win another road game, or win a road game just to get another home game.
Yep.
It's just a lot. And I think guys don't focus game to game. They think about the big picture. Like, are we really going to win 4? No, we lose game 4. We all go home and we're done. So,
I think there is a pride thing that's going to maybe make them steal game 4, right? Like, you don't want to get swept. Getting swept is terrible. Like, you want to, a gentleman's sweep is the way to go down, right? You're like, okay, they were the better team. I mean, obviously the Flyers have been on an absolute heater after the Olympic break, right?
Sure.
It's the only reason they were even in the playoffs, because going into the break, you're like, oh yeah, they ain't going. But then they strung their wins together when it mattered. And
absolutely,
and they're just continuing to ride that is the biggest thing.
Yeah. And that, I mean, a lot of time, and you mentioned the Giants, sometimes it's just playing your best hockey, basketball, football at the right time. And you're putting it all together. So, we all know in the playoffs, that's what matters most.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Let's see. The other, there's one other game, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Ducks Oilers. Yeah.
I was trying to stay up for the end of that game because that seemed like the most fun game of the day.
Yeah. I didn't get to see that one. I was at, a buddy of mine was doing an open house for his business. And so I was like, oh, let me, go down and support that. So I didn't get to see that game. But a 6-4 score. I mean, you had to have been an electric game to watch.
Yeah. Oh, the 5 goals in the second period. So it already started off. And this series is funny because it's at 2 games, and like every other series at 3 games. So it hasn't started until Monday. And obviously, like I said, I don't know as much. I know Edmonton's supposed to be favored, but it's been fairly high scoring for both games already. But yeah, Anaheim kind of took a little control in that second period, and I wish I could have stayed up for this one, but you take cold medicine, you're out. But if you were a fan like me, this is the series to kind of. I understand the pins that one has the emotional stuff to it, but
for sure,
this one just seems like wide open action when you're watching it. So that was a fun one, and the Ducks steal one of the 2 at home. So game 3 is going to be pretty big.
I mean, I think if you're a casual fan, the Sabres Bruins is also
right.
It is also. Oh, here we go. Pags wants to jump in. How about that? Gonna make an appearance.
I didn't realize what Jamie, because I saw Jamie King already, so that one threw me off.
Yeah. Anyway, so while I send him this link real quick.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so honestly, just as a casual who's been kind of following and watching a lot of split screens or putting them up there hasn't really, before I speak, let me look at the other series, but there hasn't really been a bad series. It is, if you're watching now, playoff hockey for sure is like you guys said, it's a different beast. Everything feels a little more intense. You can feel from the crowds and from the players, there's a little bit more, at stake. What was it? There was one of the games where they were fighting 10 seconds into the game. I think they dropped the puck and then just dropped the
dropped the gloves.
Drop the stick. So it's no, it's been a fun ride. I can't wait to the next round to maybe lock in a little bit more. But no, it's been a fun introduction with these series, and you've gotten a good mix of, hey, here's some high scoring back and forth action, and here's a really tight game like in the Colorado series. Here's like a 2-1 game, just so you know how important everything is. So,
yep. Hey, what's up, man?
Good morning.
You got here just in time for hockey talk.
Hey, well, you know what? There's a lot to talk for us. I know that the people in Pittsburgh are not very happy with me, but
and that was before hockey started.
Yesterday was a great game, and I was only able to pick up like little bits and pieces. I missed the second period. And it seemed like it was that was where most of the scoring came.
Yeah.
from.
Oh, see, so you're the bad luck. You got to not watch these games. As soon as you turn it off, they just start scoring.
Yeah. Well, that's what we were talking about. I said I watched the first period, and Pittsburgh scores early, and they hold you guys scoreless. And I said, okay, they're gonna fight for this one. They're working their way back in. And then those 3 goals in the second, you could just tell they were like, all right, might be time to plan the vacation. It's like you guys just took it out of them in that second period.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I knew like when I was watching in the first period, they were still doing the things that got them to this point. They were still beating them on the boards. They were still grinding into them. You could see Pittsburgh's frustration in the midst of it. I'm not even sure. I mean, I only even heard about, that number 17 tried to kick a player. He's like that, when everybody saw that and they were like, that guy's not going to be able to play anymore in this series. He's done because that's you could not only really hurt somebody. I mean, that could be really, that goes the wrong way. I mean,
I like that he's Happy Gilmore. I'm the only guy to ever try and stab someone with my skate.
But it literally was. I mean, I felt that we took the heart out of them in Pittsburgh, and the fact that they still came out in the first period, but they couldn't withstand the storm in the second.
Yeah.
And that's really what it came down to. It's like once you give up that second goal,
that was it.
Yeah, it's just done.
Yeah. And that's why I said the same thing. I thought y'all were getting a fight after that first. And plus because they held you scoreless as well. So I said, okay, they might actually, get one here. And after the second period, I was like, all right, let me go back to what I was doing, because you don't want to give up on a game early, but I was at 2-1. I was like, yeah, they're done. You can tell that they put together their best period of hockey, and it didn't seem to matter, like 10 minutes later. So
well, and they had their only lead of the series.
Yeah.
Up to that point, once it became 2-1, they had lost even that. And they were just overmatched. I mean, talking about it in a realistic sense, this was a bad pull for the Penguins. Had it been any other team, they could have probably, grabbed some momentum. But from the very beginning, the momentum was been on the Flyer side. Well, and even the small glimpse that the Penguins had of momentum got taken away from them.
I mean, some of it is, if this series would have happened the way you guys were playing going into the Olympic break, I would have thought the Pens would have won. right? But the way that you guys played down the stretch to get in, one of the hottest teams in the sport.
Yeah. And there's a saying in hockey that how you are, what position you're in at Thanksgiving is the position you end in at the end of the season. And it's interesting because right before Thanksgiving, we had lost and wound up in third place. And to get back into that spot. Now, I mean, that doesn't always hold true, but it does for most. It's just usually it's like as the team goes. So even though we had our slump, and our slump all came at one time. And the other thing that happened during that slump is that we did get a lot of 1-point games. We had losses, but they were like 1-point losses.
Yeah.
So, and that's where it's like, okay, you get something out of it. But
I mean, if that would be true, the Thanksgiving thing, then the Kraken would be losing in the first round right now.
Well, and that's and it's funny because I mean, again, they are, they prove that that's not always the case. You know what I mean? It's I'm sure there's a couple of teams that prove that that's not only the case. I mean, think about Buffalo. Buffalo was horrible at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And then wound up getting the number 2 seed in the conference.
Yep.
Definitely won their division and such like that. So, I mean, there's definitely outliers to all of that, but I mean, this is exciting, and now I'm excited. I'm a little nervous by them sweeping because that's going to mean some rest, and you rest and then you got to come back. But it also looks like that Carolina is going to sweep. They beat Ottawa again last night, right?
They didn't play last night, did they? I don't think they played last night.
I'm not quite sure, actually.
I was going to say they played a day, right?
Yeah,
they could play today.
Yeah,
they played today. Yeah,
I mean, so
it's a 2-0 in that series. Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, it is 2-0 in that series, but yeah, they play today.
I almost, I feel like the time off isn't the best thing for them.
Right.
Sure.
You got everybody healthy and kicking on all cylinders, and then you're going to take a week off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes, as much as people try and say momentum isn't a thing, there is, right? Like sometimes, if you can call it rust or whatever, like sometimes it matters.
Yeah. Yeah. But right now, I can't argue with the way that they're playing. And I'm looking forward to seeing what it would be like against a great team like Carolina.
Yeah.
Because if you could play this way against Carolina, I mean, you're going to be able to compete against anybody.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did the poker game go?
Amazing.
Awesome.
Amazing. You never quite know what's going to happen. And, to make a very, very long story short, somebody brought this up to me the other day. It's not legal, typically to play poker, especially in a bar. You know what I mean? It's like there's laws against that type of stuff. But the way that I was able to do this, obviously, it was a free event. Anybody could get in. They did not, they were not forced to donate money. It was like, hey, if you want to donate money, you can. And for every $100, you get an additional $1,000 in chips. Well, interestingly enough, the guy who donated the most amount of money came in 4th.
Okay.
And the guy who didn't donate any money, came in 3rd.
Oh, funny.
And the Las Vegas Raiders, who probably had 3 or 4 people also in the tournament.
Okay.
One of their fans won.
Nice.
And the Eagles came in 2nd. So it was almost like Super Bowl 15. But interestingly enough, the Browns came in third.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
that's the first thing that they may have won in a long time.
No
Yeah.
question. No
Maybe
question.
maybe third in their division is about as my kid.
Yes.
But it was an incredible event. We had probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 150 to 200 super fans attend. ESPN was there like all day. We had a stop and go by the governor.
Very cool.
So he made the event, and it's so. I mean, as far as the inaugural event being a thing and wanting to, make my mark to get on the map, I did that with flying colors.
Nice.
So
And then
it
what
was
was the charity that ultimately won?
He was a Raiders fan from Iowa, and it was learning dyslexia.
Okay.
So which goes and brings awareness to schools on children who have dyslexia and ways to be able to combat that and fight that and have those students feel normalized in school, in public schools.
Okay.
So,
I mean, what would also help them feel normalized is if maybe their ailment didn't have the worst spelling ever. They're like, we understand you struggle with this, so we're going to make this very complicated.
Yes. Yes.
But it was overall, it was an amazing event, and I am in awe of how many people showed up and just how great of an event it was. It's like you put in all this work and you never know it's like, hey, I'm standing here by myself, you know what I mean? But that was that was not the case here, and it really, really was an amazing event.
Awesome.
So,
right on.
Looking forward for next year now.
So then, we might as well move into the draft. Since you're there, what's the landscape like? Obviously this thing lights off tonight.
Yeah, people are arriving. Pittsburgh's got a very small airport. It's not a very big airport, and we're about 10 miles away from it. And I have seen more planes. I've never seen a plane fly over our location, and there have been planes nonstop coming. So everybody is here now, and it's the excitement is building. It's been a fun. Like I went to an event yesterday with a whole bunch of influencers.
Okay.
And got to spend time with the governor. I had a great interview with the lieutenant governor. He's a big Pittsburgh fan. He's from Pittsburgh originally. So I was asking him what his thoughts were on just having this here and how excited he was about that. And also how what this meant for Pittsburgh in general. It's not like the economic boom that they're getting from the draft being here and all the local businesses, and how it's helping with some of the them to raise some money for some of the infrastructure situations that they have going on. They have a lot of construction going on here. And if you've ever driven in Pittsburgh, there are more roads that, all over the place. It's like there's just, one exit could have 4 different options to go, which way to go. Okay. And they needed some help. They were with the infrastructure, so they're getting that now, and they're fixing some of these roads more on a local level, and that's good for them. So it's boosted their economy, and and it's been showing really well. Pittsburgh people are super excited about this.
Yeah.
Nice.
And today we have the, we start off. I start off by being the color commentary to the Great Pennsylvania Mascot Race. So
That's right. I forgot you were doing that.
Yeah, it's where I am going to be calling between Steely McBeam, Swoop from the Eagles, Rock the Pit Panther, and the Nittany Lion.
Okay.
And I'm going to be all in Eagles gear, so I am forced to make one choice.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm stuck with picking the Eagles. However, knowing these mascots as I do, the Nittany Lion's going to win by a landslide because he's the only one that's got real sneakers on. Everybody else, yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. I thought you were going to say he's like the real athlete out of them, but yeah, I mean, it makes sense that he would be, in the costume that's the easiest to run in.
Can I bet on the mascot race? Since now that I've got inside information.
So, yes,
you can
bet on the mascot right here. Use the QR code on the screen. Up to 125% of your first 3 deposits, 10% bet guarantee. And of course, that bet guarantee will come in if you pick Swoop.
Same thing with Steely McBeam. Steely McBeam's got these heavy shoes on. It's just like, and they said that, there's no tripping involved. I'm like, what do you mean there's no tripping involved? This is a mascot race. Right? I want these mascots to kind of battle it out.
Right? Mix it up a little bit. Treat it like the Pee Wee football versus mascot game where you're just out there beating them up.
Yes. See, that's would have been something that I would have loved to have called. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Get the parrot, get the Pittsburgh Parrot, the Penguin, and some other mascots from around the area and come and do this. But you know what? You know who's going to be one of my partners on the stage calling this event? Punxsutawney Phil. So yes,
that's weird.
It's just there. And just so that you know, Punxsutawney Phil is actually a Phyllis because he is a she.
Oh, well, there you go.
But the prognosticator of prognosticators is coming to call his prognostication or her prognostication of this race, which I think is hysterical.
That is weird.
Hey, you know what? I don't think there's going to be many other times that you're going to get to see a stage with me. I think it's the Pittsburgh Dad and Punxsutawney Phyllis.
That's just a strange grouping.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah. But it's going to be a lot of fun. And then right after that, I am in the inner circle, for the Eagles, waiting on our pick. So I am
so
ready.
Who do you think you got?
I don't know names. I know that we have a lot of picks, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them move up a little bit to get an offensive lineman that they're targeting.
Right.
I feel like that the guy from Utah with the very unique name, he is like what, if you were to AI draw what an offensive lineman would look like and what his name would be, this is it. He's literally like this 300 pounds, 6'3".
Spencer Fano.
Fano, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 6'6", 311. Wow, that dude is a monster.
and he's got the flowing locks of he's got the mullet going. He is just everything that you could possibly want in an offensive lineman, and also really good. I also hear like the guy from Penn State, the guard from Penn State, also is one of the targets.
Oh, okay.
So I think either way, That's
But it sounds like you would definitely have to move up to get either one of those guys. Most mocks do have them gone well before they get to you guys. So
right.
you would
And
have to move
that's
up
what my thought is. I think they're going to get to move up maybe 6 or 7 spots. And because they have 11 picks, we have some cachet. Once you get past the first 6 or 7 picks, like once you get around pick 8, you could leverage a 3rd and a 5th for moving up in the first. Before that, I think you'd need to give up too much.
Yeah.
Like nobody's going to give up a 2nd round pick to move up 8 spots to hope to get somebody.
Yeah.
But this is Howie's season. Howie Roseman is the general manager, and this is his time. He loves the draft. He's always having, making deals with teams that seems like it works out for both of us, but it usually just works out for us.
Fair enough.
Can't argue with it. You know what I mean? It just is what it is.
Yep.
I also wouldn't be surprised if we saw them move up out of the 2nd round back into the 1st and try to steal Seattle. Not steal it, but take Seattle's pick.
Sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if they try to get 2 offensive linemen and get the 5th-year extension.
Right.
I think, when I'm thinking about building for the future, having 4 years is fine. I mean, that's not the biggest deal. It's like you get the 3-year with the 4th-year extension rather than the 4 years with the 5th-year extension. But if you feel confident of a guy and you feel confident in your coaching that they're going to be able to do what they need to do, I believe that they can pick, pick another offensive lineman and have that 5th-year option for them. And now you'd have 5 years specifically with these guys. But maybe not, because I think of it that way. Offensive lineman, you're either good or you're not, or you're a work in progress. You know what I mean? You're good or you're a work in progress. And I don't know if that's something that they want to try to do, because typically the Eagles have always been linemen sit for the first year.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
You don't want somebody out there first year.
Right, just getting thrown out. Yeah.
Even Dickerson was a little bit of a difference with that. He played a lot in his first year, but he played at guard. So you are going to be drafting tackles here. And you have Mailata and you have Lane Johnson, who, are really top tier at their position. You want them to, whoever you draft to learn from them. So
for sure.
That's why I think you may want that extra year, because you're not going to play them this year, but you're going to give them all of the, things, all the tools that they need to be able to learn from the best.
No, I get that. It for Seattle, if they do get locked into that final spot in the first round, right? Like, say they just can't find a trade partner or whatever. I could see them taking a corner there, right? Since they let Reek go, probably the guy that's going to be around where they'll pick is Chris Johnson out of San Diego State. Runs a 4.4, 6 foot, decent range, can play man and zone, like kind of a balanced guy. To be on the opposite side of Witherspoon, I think would be, I think could work. And it works, kind of around where he's sort of slotted to go.
Yeah. It's funny because like I pulled up several mock drafts just to get everybody's kind of opinion. Yesterday I had 6 of them up, and 5 of them had you trading out of that spot, and
so that
4
was
of the 5. Yeah.
That's specifically if they don't trade out, because I think they're
right. No. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, no. But 4 of them have you trading out of that spot to the Cardinals for, so the Cardinals can draft Ty Simpson. So it's like funny where the consensus is going. But then to your point, like you call up a couple this morning and if you stay in that spot, cornerback. So it's like it's either, but most people think y'all are getting out of that spot. So
such a funny trade partner. Such a funny trade partner that they're choosing the Cardinals.
I think because of the quarterback progression, they have 2 quarterbacks on the roster now. So if they give the Cardinals a quarterback and you're kind of building a young core around them, he can sit for a year and then start in the next year. So, but the Cardinals, if you go look, we've already, done the promo, but they're the betting favorites to land Ty Simpson. So that's why a lot of people think they're going to the Cardinals. So I'm just telling you the information that's out there. It's not necessarily what I would have thought going in there. I honestly thought the Jets and then maybe the Rams as a good kind of back, great home for him. But the Cardinals have emerged as kind of hey, we think they're getting Ty Simpson. So
yeah, no, I'd heard quite a few of them that have had that. I think it's interesting, but I mean, they need so many other things. Like, I don't know that that's actually helpful, but at the same time, it's Cardinals, so I could see them doing it.
And getting him at the last pick of the draft isn't, the same investment as top 5, top 10. So,
for sure,
that would be for sure. But
it does give you that 5th year.
You're right. So. Right. So if it does work out, So,
but what about your brother? What's he want? I mean, they only need everything. So, for
Miami?
I figure you guys talked about it, right?
No, I mean, because he's so last night he turns to me in the middle of, and it's his birthday show, so I'm trying to be nice. He says, "Do you think I'll see the Dolphins win a Super Bowl in my lifetime?" I said, "No, sorry, man. Let's move on." So
you should have bought him. You should have bought him a new Madden game. Be like, yeah, you can even make it happen.
I don't even know on there, buddy. I don't even know on there. So it feels like they kind of need everything. So I don't even think he's kind of looked at it. He's not even looked at mocks for everything. So I don't even know where the Dolphins are headed going into this draft, to be honest.
To be fair, I don't think they do either. So
which would actually be very fair. So, I mean, they've got them looking at defense, but I feel like that's been like the last 2 or 3 years that we've been talking about. Miami needs to get better on defense, but now you've kind of torn down the offense as well. So, and then you even got Malik Willis. So I don't,
I mean, that's where I feel like Dallas needs to go too. Like, just ignore the offense unless you happen to find a O lineman that makes sense. Otherwise, you better do something on that defense because it is awful.
Right. And that's what, if you look at a couple of mocks, that's where Miami's going to get defense first. But it kind of just depends on who falls. Because I think even in the 2 spot, they're kind of arguing about which defender they're going to get for the Jets. And then it's just kind of the dominoes fall from there. I think Love has a lot of movement in that top 10. So that, that'll shake up some other things too as well. So
for sure.
It'll be interesting to see what the first couple teams do. But Miami defense, and then they'll go from there.
Yeah, in fact, there's some mocks that have Love number 2 overall.
Yeah.
So, which
I've seen, I think 3 to Tennessee is where I've.
Yeah, I mean that would make some sense.
Yeah. I've seen 3 to Cardinals or 4 to Tennessee has been in a lot of mocks as well. So and then if he goes to the Cardinals, that kind of strengthens are you going to get Simpson and start a young backfield to go with your young receiver? So and I know it's about time to get out, so I'll stop there.
It is that time. If you've been listening on 97.3 ICU Radio, we do have some smooth jazz headed your way. If you're listening everywhere else, like and subscribe. Helps us bring our content to you. Otherwise, we're going to get out of here. Enjoy the draft tonight. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Take it easy, everybody.
Peace.